today to explain our project that we have and the process that we'll be going through as part of it. What we're looking at doing is trying to extend a water main from our Manteno up to the University Park system. And in doing that, we're going to be putting in about 15.5 miles worth of water main. And as Brian noted, that we've got Brian Fisher's group, the Farnsworth group, is going to be doing our design as well as the easement acquisition. The majority of the routes has been finalized. We'll be starting out down coming off of 8000 East Road, running north up to the Will County Road, or the County Line Road, jogging over, and then running up Will Center Road up to about a mile south of Monique. From that point on into University Park, we haven't quite decided what that final route's going to be. What we're looking at doing is acquiring easements in Will County. It'll be on the east side of the roadway, of the right-of-way. We'll go 30 feet in from that right-of-way line in towards the property. Right now the plan is to put the water main about 10 feet in off that right-of-way line. The additional easement there would be for any potential replacements in the future, and also to give us room to work while we're doing the construction of the main. Right now we're expecting to have a 24-inch water main being put in there. And the design has not started yet, or the final design has not started yet. What we've done so far to select this route is Farnsworth has gone through and determined this is the least cost alternative for the routing going up this roadway. And then we selected the east side of the roadway just to try and minimize the number of property owners impacted by this. We have been in contact with the Department of Agriculture, and we are in the process of initiating an agricultural impact mitigation agreement. So as you can see from the project map, we just have it highlighted blue as the Kankakee parcels, and then green is the Will County parcels as they go up. And as I said, what we're looking at doing is trying to put that water main just 10 foot in off that right-of-way line. Reason for that, trying to minimize any sort of impact should that roadway ever get improved, and also give us enough room where we need to maneuver around anything that we, any improvements or any issues we find during the design process. We've got some room to be able to do that without trying to go back and get additional easement as well. So we're trying to get this all in one swoop and try and make it as painless for everyone as possible. As part of the easement process, as you guys know, many of you have already received our initial contact letters from Farnsworth. And in that, we have a 2-week time period between the initial letter before Farnsworth representing officer can reach out to try and initiate a meeting. I know if someone wanted to meet before that time, they were free to go ahead and contact Farnsworth. But we do have that 2-week clearance time before we're able to initiate contact. Once the initial contact's made, we look to set up an initial meeting, and in that, Brian will come out. Brian also has another gentleman with Farnsworth, Greg Sowers. And then we'll go out and they'll be the ones that are actually in negotiations with the property owners. As part of that initial meeting, they'll exchange an offer and explain the project, and also listen if there are any things that are on the property that we might not have noticed beforehand, so we can get a full set of information, try and be fair and consistent with every one of the property owners that we interact with. And also if there's any things that could impact the design, that's also when we would hope to gather that information as well. After that initial meeting, they will set up follow-up meetings in order to go through negotiations in order to try and acquire that easement from the property owners. Any other?
Yeah, I thought I'd mention that initially. Typically, you don't typically get an easement for a project until the design is completed and you have a full legal description. In this case, we're kind of getting easements concurrently with doing design work. And so we're asking for actually an easement option there's an easement option agreement, and there's an attachment that has the easement agreement attached to it. And that's to allow us to get easement process going. The option will be irrevocable until December 31st, 2016. And then later on, when the design is complete, we'll have a full legal description, an easement plat, and actually plans that we'll be able to show the property owners. The idea is that the option will not vary significantly from the original easement. Right now, the drawings that went out with the letters is an aerial drawing with a rough location where the easement would be. But like Cameron said, we're trying to have it right adjacent to the right-of-way of Will Center Road, South Will Center Road. And then in the future, you'll have a more. So right now we just have a meets and bounds description, basically for the easement. But if the option is executed, and then somewhere down the line when design is done, we'll come back to the property owners with a full legal description, a full easement plat, and construction drawings, so they can have a better idea of how construction is going to proceed across their property. So that's pretty much a summary of the easement process.
Why a 300-foot easement? Are you planning on doing something underhanded later?
It's a 30-foot easement.
Huh?
It's a 30-foot easement.
30 foot?
30 foot, yes.
It's a 30 foot.
Yes.
I think on my letter it said 300.
Yeah, I got letters saying, yeah.
Yours said 300?
The 300.
300.
I will, it's 30-foot easement. If it said 300, it was a typo that I didn't catch, but I thought I had all those checked, so.
You sure didn't have mine checked.
Okay. It is a 30-foot easement for everybody.
Well, that extra zero makes a little difference.
It makes a big difference, yes.
That's like $100 bills, And how much are we talking about as far as revenue for the right-of-way to go through?
Well, I would like to handle that individually with each property owner. It was based on a market study that the base land values were based on a market study that Aqua hired an independent firm to do a market study of the land values of the area, and they broke it into 3 parcel sizes: 0 to 10 acres, 10 to 60 acres, and 60 to and on up acreage. And so the base property values per acre were recommended by that market study.
Mm-hmm. We have 2 pipelines go through our property. And to this day, you can see right where they're at because of crop reduction. We got one that nothing grows. They got all the clay on top and the black dirt on the bottom.
Yeah, we do in the.
Yeah, they told me the same thing, so don't try to tell me something I know. I'm 80 years old and I know what the hell happens. The same way with tile when you go through them. Where did we do the tile? Because what they do, they dig back, and either way, lay a V in there and put the tile on there. Well, that extra weight pushes it down, and then the tile goes down about that far, so you got a crack where the water goes through this way.
You'll hear this when we meet with individual property owners, but there's a process during the construction they're going to follow, separating topsoil to one side of this trench, clay to the other, and they'll backfill up the top with topsoil. Through agricultural properties, they'll allow the owner the option they've offered to have a deep rip done of the soil to minimize compaction. They've offered to add lime to the soil to help with fertilization. There'll be crop damages spelled out according to the easement, and field tiles. They'll be diligent to repair and make sure those are done as witnessed by the property owner, and then there'll be a 2-year guarantee on the field tiles after the work is completed. And so they're trying as best they can to mitigate any negative impacts to the agricultural properties.
In other words, there's not going to be no set fee for everyone that's concerned about that.
Well, it's based on their parcel size.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has a different frontage that goes across it. So the base offer is going to be consistent with everybody based on parcel size and the amount of frontage they have on their property.
Well, what's the base rate then?
Well, like I said, I'd like to individually go through that with everybody.
What if you say something different to him,
It's
they
an
should do to
individual
us?
thing then, it's not a,
I can give them the base, when we give them the base
you
parcels.
have no idea right now what you are going to offer to
No,
start with?
No, we know the base,
20% of what you're
I don't
supposed
think
to
any of
get.
us know.
well, I have met with a few people and they know what the offer is already. And the thing is there's 93 parcels and we send out 10 letters a day. And we'll be meeting with the people as we get them in, but there's a lot of people to talk to. And the idea is hopefully to talk to everybody, at least with the initial introductory meeting. We don't plan to negotiate the first meeting. It's just an informational meeting only, and to provide the initial offer. And then we'd like to give the property owners an opportunity to digest that offer, and then we'll follow up with additional meetings at a later date. But the idea is get the initial offers to everybody in person, one-on-one.
Now, what about the individual that might want to have a lawyer?
So that's why we're not asking anybody to sign any agreement at the first meeting.
Why would the base be any different for a person that had 400 foot of frontage and a person that had a half a mile? The damn pipeline is running through everything.
Well, they're compensating based on acreage affected. so-
Why?
Why?
The pipeline's going through their property.
Because it has more of an impact on a property that has a larger frontage than it has on a property. I mean, there's more length that's involved.
How deep would it be? How deep do you bury the pipeline?
We buried the pipe 5 foot deep, so it's got 5 foot of cover over it.
What's from the center line of the road, how many feet is it into the property?
Approximately, the water main is going to be about 44 feet from the center of Will Center Road.
The water main will be 44 feet.
The water main, yeah.
Okay, so in other words, they're going to be excavated further in.
Yeah, because the water main, it's offset 10 feet in one direction and 20 feet on the other direction, but the idea is it'll be roughly the 30 feet adjacent to the Will Center right away, basically, is where
So in other words, I'm interested in what is it going to be from the center of Will Center that goes into the property.
And keep in mind that, it's approximately, we're saying 44 feet at this time, but realize that we haven't actually started the design yet.
Yeah, in other words, you got a rough estimate of 44 feet.
Right now,
From the
yes.
center.
And I think that you're gonna go into my septic field.
Yeah, and we've had a couple property owners that have expressed that concern, and we're not allowed to lay a water main through a septic field. So as we're meeting, we're going to collect information like that, and we'll make whatever adjustments that we need to do to handle that situation. Understand that might happen, but like I said, we've just started design, and so we'll be running into situations like that. Yes, sir.
I have a concern. I have hedges that are my snow break for wintertime.
Okay.
What is the basic deal with something like that?
Well, the easement says that they'll restore everything in kind. Now, when you have like large trees and hedges that have many years of growth on them, obviously those are hard to replace with in kind.
Would that go in the same place, or is that going to be stepped back the additional 30 feet from where they're existing now?
You mean the hedges?
Yeah.
No, they could go back in the same location. I mean, they would go typically back in the same location unless the property owner requested otherwise.
Okay.
The easement allows you to have full rights on your property. The only thing you can't do is build a permanent structure over the top. But any other type of, things like landscaping or anything like that, you have full rights to do anything you want in that easement area.
Now, you're going to base your compensation on a running foot, correct?
It's not a running foot, it's a running foot times the 30-foot easement converted to an acreage.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I believe you said there were 93 parcels involved.
Yes.
This is all, I can't really see, this is all on the east side of...
Well, 93 includes the Kankakee parcels also, which are in blue. The 93 parcels includes the Kankakee parcels also, which are in blue, and the Will County parcels, which are in red.
Okay, that's all on the east side of Will Center?
Correct, yes.
How many homesteads are involved in this 93 parcels?
I actually haven't counted the number of homesteads.
Well, may I suggest that there's less homesteads on the west side than there are on the east side?
Definitely.
That may be possible. We looked at just the total number.
Why do you think it would be less expensive though?
It's not expensive. We were trying to
That
impact at
gentleman
least.
said cost effective.
Well, that's for the alignment, yeah. But the cost effective wasn't related to easements, it was related to, then you'll put a water main that you have to install. That's,
Every one of those homesteads, you gotta cut through the electric line going to the homes. I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense to me that it would be cost effective to go through all those homesteads.
well, we went through, if you count the number of parcels on the west versus east, and I don't remember how many there were on the west side of Will Center Road, but there was more total parcels. Now, I don't know that we actually analyzed the number of homesteads.
Not parcels.
Right, yeah.
Do you have an alternate route that you consider?
Right, not yet, no, we haven't. I mean, we consider lots of alternate routes initially in the preliminary study. I mean, you want to talk about that in more detail, or?
Yeah, our initial study we looked at was actually over an area that was a couple miles to the east of Will Center Road, and even went over on the west side of Will Center almost to 45. And so we had looked at all these different routes in order to be able to interconnect our two water systems. And this routing was the one that was the most cost effective in order to interconnect those two. And again, we went to a selection as to which side of the roadway based on the total number of parcels.
Why is it necessary to connect both water systems together? Is this anticipation of the airport and all the stuff that's going to be coming in here?
No, the airport's got absolutely no impact to this. What we're looking
Oh,
to
they're not
do,
going to use water, huh?
they're just a property owner that we're looking to gain an easement from. The reason for this project is to bring the water from Manteno up to University Park so they can have improved water quality up there.
They don't have improved water quality now from up north?
No, they don't.
How are
They're on
drinking?
groundwater.
What do they have? What do they have there?
They are on groundwater, as are quite a number of the communities around there.
And the state allows them to service undrinkable water then?
It's drinkable water. It's just not as good a quality as the water in the Kankakee system.
What's the proposed cost for this entire project?
We'll have the total cost of the project when we decide for a better determined once we finish the final design. Right now, we're looking at about $13 million for the entire project. For water. And to be able to provide a treatment for University Park to the same quality of water was upwards of $20 million.
Now, it's just University Park they're going to service with this water, or is it the other communities around?
The purpose of this pipeline is to service University Park.
How many customers does University Park have right now?
I believe that they've got about 2,400 customers right now.
That's it? And you're going to spend $13 million to get together maybe, what, $100,000 a month up there from water?
2,400 customers? You two gentlemen look awfully fidgety. You know, really, you look very fidgety. What are you hiding? What more is to this project, please? Tell us.
That's all
Not
there
for
is to the
2,300 people.
I have a question over here. How do you replace 37-year-old trees that you planted, 9 of them along the road, and they're 37 years old? That's when I built the house.
Yeah, you can't replace 37-year-old trees. They'll replace trees in kind with nursery stock trees.
I'm saying a tree, and I don't want a twig put down there.
Yeah.
Because I never see it grow.
What assurances have you given to the township about the roads that are going to be destroyed? Are you going to put those back in first-class condition, or is the township going to be subject to fixing these damn roads at our expense?
We'll restore all the roadways up to the township standards, and we'll stand behind those repairs.
Get that in writing.
What about if, say you had a main break, they damaged our property there, a house flooded or something such as that? Who's responsible for that? For you have to buy flood insurance to cover the fact that you got 24-inch line that's going to be pumped to the side. It's a lot of water.
That is a lot of water, and like I said, we've got the claims process that would handle that and look into the whole.
Okay, because you're literally talking 60 feet from something that's going to be pumping a lot of water fast.
Yeah, and we do, that's one of the advantages of being closer to the roadway there. Again, depending on the grading, if it grades towards that ditch, it won't go towards the house. And as we've got water main a lot closer to other structures in many of our systems. So I feel confident that that won't be an issue.
Did you consider it all between Route 50 and the railroad track? The railroad goes like 2 minutes, you know? Did you even consider that route?
Yes, we have.
What's the big negative with that?
It's more expensive, as well as goes through some home rule communities that did not want us there.
Oh, so because we're rural, you can make it easy for us.
So we don't want you there.
Yeah, we don't want you there either.
Yeah, so listen to us.
And that gentleman right here about this high-pressured water main going through, and that thing popping, and it floods the whole area out. Are they going to force us to get this flood insurance because you're now going to be in some kind of flood fear zone? That's real important. And I'll tell you one thing, that's going to make the homeowner's insurance go up. You got to pay that extra policy.
Well, I can talk about flood insurance is only related to surface waters, and it's only related to the floodplain maps that are put out by FEMA.
Well, there again.
Well, what happens if yours floods out the house? Your water, like there's our neighbor, all to the, from where you're going to put that pipe is all almost straight down. And if your pipe bursts, it's going to flood out their whole house.
If the pipe
So who's responsible for that?
So
Excuse me, I'm Jim.
Also, will you give the owners of the property an insurance policy for liability on your property, signed and sealed, that your company will be liable for any kind of hurt or anybody getting hurt on the property that you're using for the pipe?
Jim, did you want to respond?
Yeah, if the pipe busts, and hopefully it never does, knock on wood, and it damages your house or your property, we're liable for that. We'll make everybody whole.
But when I'm talking being liability for somebody getting hurt on the property that you want to use, not us as the owner.
Construction work.
Yeah, we're heavily insured. We have liability.
We want proof of that. You know, you can say that all you want, but not have anything. That's what I'm saying.
I understand.
We want proof of it, signed and authorized.
Sure. We can show you proof of insurance. That's not a problem at all. I mean, it's really not a problem.
Because you know when there's these lawsuits, people sue everyone down the whole chain of events.
And we get sued all the time.
And we'll
It's
be at the
terrible.
bottom of the chain.
Well, I agree. No, I agree. I totally agree. And you gotta make sure.
There's a lot of concerns with this. I mean, you know what, after we thought about it and digested it after Mr. Ryan Fisher left, it just went from bad to worse. Because, yes, you think about it too much, okay? There's a lot of questions, and for some reason, reading the body language of these two gentlemen here, a lot of this hasn't been thought out. You know, it's like, well, we did this, and then those 2,300 people, they're only going to be serviced with this, and those people over there didn't want it. Where was all of this discussed where they didn't want it, and all of a sudden, it's going to be okay here?
It's serving more people. It's also serving all the Cann Township. Some people are not.
You didn't say that.
I know that, but it's serving more than just UP. It's serving that whole system up there. We call it our Will County Division, which is not just University Park. A big part of it is University Park, but it's Green Garden, the same thing.
Well, he did mention
Green Garden is way less.
He's been well versed that he would have known all the communities that will be serviced by this water main.
Cameron's our engineer. He does a fantastic job.
And then they want to get the easements before the final plans. To me, this is so backwards. Like they want to buy up all the property before the FAA approves this airport. Now, is that not backwards?
And
Why do
you
we
know
do things backwards around here? Answer that.
I don't know. You know, I know you guys are sensitive, this airport thing and this whole situation. I've kind of been at least educated on it for many, many years. And you're in a bad spot. And I'm terrible. I feel terrible for all you guys. I mean, how the state's treated you in this region. I've talked to you.
But Quinn already bought a white elephant.
Yeah, and you know, and knowing when we were looking at doing this, you know, a couple years ago, going through the Illinois Commerce Commission approval process, and it takes a long time, and we knew this is going to be a sensitive issue to you. And this is one of the reasons we wanted to come here to answer these questions for you. We're not looking to damage any property, we're not looking to take anything really from you, we're looking to get our pipe up there, have the easement, you guys.
Jim, you're going to damage everyone's front yard. Every single person's front yard, all their trees, any shrubs, you're definitely going to damage that. There's no way you can say you can't. You're not going to.
Well, and you're right, Judy. Even like with a road expansion or something like that, if you have some big trees.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and there are some parcels I drove up and down that you got some pretty big trees on the front, which is going to be right within that 30 foot. There's no doubt about it. Not a lot of it, but it's going to impact some people. Well, this is where, when you sit down with negotiations, that, you know, there's a value to that for you. Absolutely. Negotiate that out and replace what we can. Obviously, a 37-year-old street, we can't, that's irreplaceable. But we can work that out in mitigation with the negotiations with you. So that's why every parcel is going to be a little bit differently, and Brian and his team is going to come in.
Well, you know, it just
I got a question to ask
over
you.
here, it was saying that it was cheaper to inconvenience us than to go somewhere else. Now, look at the other side of that is, it looked like you would want to not inconvenience us and pay a little bit more and take a different route that was easier and not everybody.
And of course, whatever route is selected, there's going to be an impact on somebody. And I know
the route right away is there, right between the 50 and the railroad.
From where we're tying in, you have to go as straight as you can with water at the pressure. And we have a 20-inch main that basically goes from Manteno Grand Park. That's where we're tying into, straight across the Keith Grand Park. So this is kind of just straight up to where we have to be. Engineering-wise, it just makes sense to go this route.
But it won't be a straight route when you have to go around my septic field and my parents' septic field. My parents' septic field is even further to the west.
And that's when we sit down, when you find out exactly where it's at, we're going to sit with the engineers and say, you know, maybe it doesn't make sense. You're right.
I think you should start on that right now, because really that's a serious issue. So if you've got, I wonder how many people have septic fields in the septic field.
Well, even roadways, if you're doing a roadway expansion, a lot of times you get into, even the county and the township, they generally don't own the road, they have the easement rights, basically use rights for transportation rights to the center. If they want to expand them, a lot of times you're hitting the septic fields. So they're going to either replace that and make it work somewhere where it works for everybody, or they're going to figure out another way to get around it.
But, you know what, you just said a phrase there, replacement and like move it where it's going to work for everybody. They placed my septic field there because that was the only place it could be placed for proper drainage. So we have an issue there. I only have 2.5 acres, or a hair under 2.5. Now my parents, theirs was put there for the reason that 41 years ago, whatever it was, because that was the best place. You're not going to relocate any of our septic fields because it's convenient for you, where it might kind of work, and then we have issues. And then you guys are long gone. And you know what? I don't think this idea of replacing a septic field or moving it or rebuilding it somewhere is a good idea. I think you guys better look at this a lot better and really evaluate how many septic fields could be in the front.
And that's what we'll find out when we sit with everybody. We'll know that.
Frank, is yours in the front?
Yes.
Well, okay, we got three right there in that very small. Frank, how far is it from your house with my parents and the greens? And then, not very far. And what do we have right there? Are any of the greens here?
Well, no, our septic is in the front too.
Yours is, oh, hey, look at this.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be these issues, and this is where when we meet with you, we'll figure it out the first time. And you know, and if there's so many of these things, it doesn't make sense for us that we might have to look for a new location. We don't know.
Well, you know, those other people told you that they don't want you there. I think you have a majority here, just a few people here, a greater majority. We don't want you here either.
I understand.
The septic field really is an issue. And I mean, I respect everyone's wishes about the mature trees. They are not replaceable. The septic field, you replace it, look at all that work that's got to be done. I mean, think of this, me who knows nothing really about a septic field, but the septic field is there. It runs to the house underneath our wide deck in front of the house, and then goes into the house. It's got that holding tank. The thing that looks like when the grass gets real dry, it looks like a coffin.
Yeah, I was on a septic for years.
Yeah, okay. All that's got to be moved. That is not going to be logical. Not only is it not going to be cost effective, it is not going to be logical. I think this has really got to be evaluated.
Is we meet with, when Brian and his team meet with you guys individually, those are the kind of things bring up, okay, where's it at? Do you have maybe something from the county, or when it was installed that shows where's it at, the location-wise, so we can determine, hey, you know what, maybe we can move this a little this way, or maybe it doesn't make sense to be over here, or is it even replaced? Well, it might not even be feasible to replace it. We don't know that at this point, and we're gonna, that's what we're trying to find out. You know, with your help, you guys say, hey, I have this here, this is gonna be a problem. You know, and then we can all go back and reevaluate it and see, you know, what we have.
You know what you can do? Take a quick little survey of all these poor people that you sent letters to. Ask these people who have their septic fields in the front. That might nip the whole project right in the bud. You're going to have to start all over with your first preliminary plan and put it elsewhere.
And we'll see once we...
Why did we only have 2 weeks? And then we got all that flooding all the time? She's got septic issues and it's all down the road.
No,
I asked her
not-
with Brian,
No,
we
it's-
only have 2 weeks.
I think the idea is that
The
process...
2 weeks was 2 weeks from the time we sent the letter. We could not contact you until after you had the letter for 2 weeks.
What was the compensation paid to the people, landowners, when you laid it to Grant Park? What per acre was that?
I didn't tell you. To be honest with you, I wasn't part of that process.
Why did the company that was coming up with the first offer to everybody, they used a 20% right in the front, and the offer was 20% of what the total price should have been?
Like the acreage price? Like
Yeah,
a market
yeah.
acreage?
In other words, it was supposed to be over $2,000.
Yes,
Yeah, it was supposed to be over $2,000 that property worth. Yet, according to their formula, it just took the 20% off. They offered $416.
It's 66 cents.
And for us to think about it. And
So
it's supposed to be over
that's a good
2,000.
point. Can you explain that, Jim?
Generally on easements, and I'm no expert, and I don't know how they came with the value, but this is how I've seen it done in the past. You have an acreage value. I'm making up numbers. Okay, say farmland's 10,000 acres. I don't know.
It goes by the square foot.
Yeah, and then they break it down like an acreage price, which is square feet, 43, whatever,
Could be
4,560 square feet.
Yeah, but their formula was right, no acreage, just right like so many square feet.
On
Never
right.
come out to.
But I think they got the square foot price based on the acreage price.
Yeah, $10,000 an acre.
Okay, that's probably what they came with that. And then what they do is, on an easement value, and the why I'm guessing this is because when we buy a system, there's a value they put on easements that are already in place, and it's similar to this. So we're not buying the parcel, we're buying the rights to use underneath it. So you'll still have full rights to use it and do what you want with it.
So you actually want to lease it?
We're just, you're giving us rights to be able to put that in there, because you'll
Yeah, for a
still be
lease,
able to do
right?
whatever you want with it.
For a lease. If you want to lease the property, $1,000 a month. That's it, $1,000 a month if you want to lease it.
Who's going to pay the taxes on the property?
Huh?
Who's going to pay the taxes?
Who's going to maintain it?
Yeah.
Well,
You see, you're going to be leasing it,
still-
you're responsible for everything.
It's still, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's still your property, you're just giving us a rights and easement rights to use it. So you
Yeah.
cut it, you maintain
Yeah.
it, you landscape it, you put trees, once we're there and it's all gone back to normal.
Right,
even though we're
right.
gonna-
But you're going to
know
be
we're
leasing
there.
it, not buying it, right?
Buying an easement right, a right.
Oh, you're buying the easement.
Buying an easement
Right.
right. Right.
Historically, easements are granted or given on whatever. How does that affect the total value of all of your property? That's your frontage along the road. How does that impact all of your
How does it degrade our property?
You know, it's probably different everywhere. In most cases, okay, if you
Does
maybe
it
have...
help it or does it hinder?
My opinion, this is Jim Bellata's opinion only, it would help it because you have water now. I'm not a pipeline, I'm not a gas, I'm not oil. If something breaks, you're not gonna kill people, you know, it's different. You have water that is usable.
You know for a fact.
We have a water bill, but we have a well now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No water, what's the
Since your life,
Yeah, they're not
over
coming
the
to
feature,
the
they done this.
You don't have to tap into their water.
No easement ever, because evidently that
They were gonna have to pay the water bill, what
Oh, yeah,
the-
add a bus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not here.
Is there a timetable for this project that's,
Yeah, I was gonna go over the schedule. I mean, if your septic went bad or something, there's an option to have it in front of you. You don't have an option out to the front. And one of the question was, like, if Beecher did some main extension, they forced the people to tie into it. That's not the case here. This is a big 24-inch main going up north. You guys stand your septics as long as you want, and you can. You got no water bill then. You just got your pump cost. But we can't force anybody to tie onto it or anything, and so we're not. That's not the case.
Are they planning on putting like places?
Hang on a minute, John.
Oh, that's probably where the discharge was.
The grade.
Down there.
And that's why we had to have them in the front.
That makes sense. Yeah, because most people just have your standard probably drain tile septics with the holding tanks.
In other words, are they planning on putting places where a fire department can hook into it off of there to fight a fire?
There will be some hydrants located along this, absolutely, you should, and the fire department will have access to them. Where they end up being exactly is when the design.
Well, that's their design. But I mean, are they planning on installing some of them?
Yeah.
You know, because along Route 45, they're putting a pipeline in on the west side of 45, and there's fire hydrants going in every so often.
Yeah, that's actually, that's ours, that's Aqua, we're doing that. That's our
You're doing that too?
That's our pipeline, yeah.
So why didn't you extend straight up 45 then?
Yeah, keep on going.
And this is, I don't know, I didn't engineer design, but I know we had to come way back.
Yeah, we looked at, there's a cost per linear foot to put the water main, not related to the property acquisition. The studies that went into were pressure loss was a factor, because the more line you put in, the higher pressure loss you have as you transfer water from one place to the other. So the shortest distance is the best related to pressure. You need a booster pump to pump the water from point A to point B. The longer you go, the bigger your pumps have to be, the more linear footage of water main you have to pay to install. There's a lot of factors that come into play. And we evaluated a lot of different routings. We evaluated it for costs for pipe, costs for pumping costs, energy costs. We looked at a lot of different factors, and this was the cheapest option.
I'm still confused on something, really confused. This is going to supply water to University Park, okay, for approximately 2,300 residences?
And there's also a substantial industrial park there as well.
Oh, we get more to the story here. Okay, so we get these 2,300 people in this little industrial park that's along with it. Why are you spending, I think a gentleman over here asked, why are you spending so much money for a project of this water main going from there to there? And right now it's really not supplying that much. What is your intent, that you're not perhaps telling us, of this broad picture?
So what we did is, 3 years, the residents on that water system, their Greenberry. That's all there already. There's a lot of work that's newer, growth area, University Park, Governor State University, some residents that we serve in unincorporated areas. The water quality up there is bad. It's terrible. You would not drink it. You bathe in it, you cook with it, that's about it. Okay, so for years they've been beating us up saying we need better water, need better water. Okay, so we have 3 wells up there, I believe. So, okay, the way to do it, let's soften it, treat it more appropriately. Okay, so we're getting prices on it. We'll do this for you. We're looking at it. If we start looking at these prices, it's exceeding like $21 million, $22 million to do this. It's crazy, right? So it's like, okay, we have this great source right here, all the way up to Manteno and Grand Park. Let's evaluate, see what it costs us to just bring it up here. I know it sounds simple, but it's cheaper. It's cheaper to operate. It's better quality water. It's the right thing to do versus putting in $22 million into 3 wells that are groundwater now. And the big push to get off the groundwater because of the coning of the aquifers and all the goody stuff. And there's limited amounts of capacity in the aquifers here. So actually you want, especially as agriculture, if you're using those wells, you want the big users off, like University Parks, our big 3 wells, so that it sustains your aquifers a little bit better. So all those things coming into play, it made all the sense in the world for us to look at this. That's why. Otherwise, we would have never looked at it. When we treatment of those city walls up there exceeding 21, 22. This is substantially cheaper to do that, and we have the source. It's better quality. There's ample water. There's 4.3 billion gallons a day that goes by our plant in Kankakee. It's a 21 million gallon a day plant. We're using about 12 million. There's capacity already there. It's just everything made sense to do it.
Well, then why did those other people that said they don't want it there get their way? And now all of a sudden you're going to disrupt all of our places with our mature 37-year-old trees and septic fields. And you know what? I still think that's really strange that Mr. Fisher had mentioned that they can bow out a water main. Am I correct? You mentioned 45 degrees. You can bow it out if you have to.
No, they have
go around.
45-degree bends if they have to locate around an obstacle or something like that.
45 degrees. Well, I'm not real good with math, but let's say it's just kind of like this way. Okay, you're going to go around maybe septic fields, and then these water mains at these extreme high pressure can take these bends, so to speak. This doesn't sound very logical. I think your planning commission perhaps look at this again, because these septic fields, the more I think about it, it's going to be an issue.
And then we'll see, once we meet people and find out where they're, then we might reevaluate it at that time.
I think we have
won't
to
know until-
reevaluate it. When can we get a letter of how many your survey of how many septic fields in the front of their houses?
Once we meet with everybody, I guess we'll find out. And
Yeah,
that's
and you know what? It should be a question you ask, because maybe right away you impact this letter and people not thinking real clearly till they digest this. They might not think of it.
I've actually been asking.
Right away thinking about their
I
trees.
think the standard question would probably, right,
Ever since I met
I
you,
offered it. I
you were the
offered
first
it. I
person to
mean,
ask the
that was
question.
on my checklist here. I had everything typed up, and I even gave him a typed copy.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we have some really big issues.
Usually school bus.
And we're definitely, we want to know the issues, we want to work through them if we can. Now we'll reevaluate.
Wait, what happens if we say no, we don't want it?
It's like this.
Mark, go ahead.
This question, I don't know for Amber or Brian. Looking at the order, how it was filed, you do not have eminent domain power, is that correct?
That is correct.
You do not have that, you cannot file eminent domain against any of us, correct? And condemnation.
Yes,
It's right in your paperwork. It's right in your letter.
You know, let me correct that. We do not have condemnation abilities. We can get them. We don't want to get them. We want to work it out with everybody. But the way we would get them is we would have to file with the Illinois Commerce Commission for them to give them to us. We don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to go through that. Nobody wants to have to go through that. We do have, I don't want you to think that we don't have any ability to do that at all. We do. We don't want to do that. We don't plan on doing that. Hopefully we can work it off with everybody. But I didn't want anybody to think that we're not telling you, being truthful with you.
I hope you don't use the same company figuring out what it's worth.
I don't think we've ever. Would be a new job. I've been with the company 7 years. Cann probably saying, we've never used that. Never asked the ICC for it. I know pipeline companies, your oils and the big pipeline guys, I know they use it. Go to the ICC for it. We've never used it. We don't do big main extensions like this very often at all. So this is,
Because our use is scare tactic to all of us here in that letter, negotiations or eminent domain. Did you or did you not?
Actually, that's the ICC. ICC requires us to put that publication. They require us to put that publication in with the initial letters. It's to lay out your rights as a property owner. That's required by the ICC. We didn't have any choice but to put that in the letter. It's part of their easement negotiation process. Those regulations. Those are the ICC regulations regarding acquiring easements. We were required to put that in the letter by their policies.
But that sure scared the hell out of a bunch of us here, I think.
Well, I imagine it did.
That goes against what we want, right there. That goes against what we want, not what you want. That's discrimination, right? When you force us.
What do we forcing you to do?
That's what you got in the letter.
The letter was required that we put that in by ICC regulations.
And you loved it because that could give you the leverage to force us. Okay?
Well, I think Jim spoke to that. They have no desire to want to force you to do it.
Yeah, I believe that as far as I could throw that table. That's because they offered everybody that we talked to only 20% of what the property is valued that you want. Our property that you want was over $2,000. But Brian come up with the figuring that that company did, $416 and some odd cents.
415.
Oh, I'm sorry, $415 and some odd cents. So what does that tell us? How can we trust anybody if they tell us this and then they show this on paper that it's only 20% of what it's valued?
So I'd like to know that answer. Why would you be only offering somebody like John and his wife $416 for an easement? Why?
Because we get back to
No, not because. I want to hear what Jim has to say.
when you start with the, okay, get back to that formula, right?
Yeah.
You have your, say, 10,000 an acre. Like you say, I don't know if that's the number, but I think it's...
No, it was
close.
rated on
Okay.
301 feet, linear feet.
Okay, and so you're getting your square footage cost, and then determine how many square foot we're looking for the easement for you, and say that is $2,000. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
that's
that's
probably
what
it
it comes
is.
out
That's
according
probably
to
what
the
it is.
figure, less the 20% that they put right in the front to multiply 20% by the whole thing.
25% of that.
0.20.
20%. Okay. And the idea there...
I'd rather see 20 without the decimal point on the front.
Well, it's kind of like the 300 or the 30 feet with the...
Yeah.
But the idea there, the concept is, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that because we're not taking it and taking all the rights from you and everything, we're just the easement for it. So you're going to have full use of that when it's done. So the appraisers come up with a value and say that 20% is that easement value. That's where it comes from. The appraisers, the professionals, say this is what it is. But I know the reason is because you've given us a right to go in there and put the pipeline in there.
What if we don't want to give it? That way then you don't go in it. See, that's what it comes out to.
And that's a choice, right, absolutely. And this is where I hope we can talk when we meet with you and negotiate, you know. But that right, there's a value to it of the overall value of the land. And
Well, that's what
obviously
they
the
use.
appraiser says it's 20%.
Huh?
And he's based on market conditions, he's saying it's 20%. I'm no expert in it, but I know that's how they come up with the
The
dollar.
value of the land is $10,000 an acre. You divide how many square feet are in an acre, and then you divide that into the $10,000, and you come up with so much per square foot. And that's what they use, all the way through. But then they put this little decimal point at a 20, right in front of the whole figuring. And it comes out at $419 instead of $2,000-something.
So they took your square foot price times the value of land, basically, right? Your
Yeah.
square foot, whatever, say they're taking 200 square feet, your value of land.
Here's the equation.
I want to see it.
I don't care how you cut it, anybody who gives them an easement
I'll let you use my
is
glasses.
not going to improve the value of your property
I got it.
overall.
Who was the appraiser that did all this land evaluation?
Gentleman by name of Batis,
Where's he out of?
Julia.
Oh, so he has access to all the crops or the land sales that have been in this area over the last, say, 5 years to come up with a value of that land?
Yeah.
Well, there's one right on the corner that wants 10,000 an acre.
For farm ground?
Right now, what other farmland or buildings?
And that's generally what a lot of it's going for, so. Yeah, Batis and Associates is the appraisal company. I know they do a lot of work in this area and even do some pipeline work, so they understand the values and impacts. So we wanted somebody that knows this. And I can't bring someone in from Pennsylvania, Ohio. They don't know this region, you know. So.
You know, Jim,
Yeah, because according to the letter, it said they did the whole area in this general area, and it came out to $10,000 an acre. Well, the property that was sold and the property that's for sale.
Does it sound about right?
Yeah, $10,000. See, and then if you take a look at that 20% knocks it down, kills, rips you off of 80%.
Because we're not buying the property. We're not taking it. We're not asking you to sell us 30 feet times whatever, and you don't have any rights to it ever again. If you sold it to us, you're selling us the whole bundle of rights, what they call real estate. We're looking for just the right to use it. To
So
put a
you want
pipe in
it,
there.
you want to lease it, in other words. So you want to lease it, that's what it comes down to.
Easement.
You want to rent it. That's what you want to do, because you don't want to buy it, you want to rent it.
We want to buy a portion of the bundle of rights to be able to put the pipe through.
Well, that would be a lease.
So then you could use all the top of it, well.
That would be a lease.
I disagree with you, but you could, that way you guys still could farm it, you could still use it, still driveways in and out, you could plant stuff, you could do whatever with it.
Well, we could do whatever we
Well,
want
you
on
can't
top
build-
of it.
you can't
We could go
build
right
it
down
up.
50 feet, right?
I
See, you
believe
just
you
said
can
that, we
but
could do whatever we want, so I could drill a hole down 30 feet,
There's
right there.
limitations, absolutely, there's limitations.
See?
This gentleman here just said it devalues your property, which is true. For us that farm, we have the frontage. If we decide to sell off a plot to somebody to build a house, we can't do it. You got a pipeline sticking there.
Well, that's why we're gonna be on the road, you know, and just following the roadway, so if we ask you to go right in the middle of your property, yeah, that's a huge impact to your property, absolutely. You can't do anything with it, if it dissects it. Here, that's why we're doing on the road frontage, to minimize the impact, and then we could access it if we're into without impacting the homeowner or the property owner.
But if I sold that plot, they would be obligated to honor that easement agreement. And they would get nothing. They could dig a hole in the front yard to put, say, a flagpole or anything like that, because you got your pipeline there. And how many houses, I see quite a few, they have flagpoles in the front
Yeah,
yard.
the flagpole's not gonna be, I mean, something like that it's not gonna impact it. It's, you know, digging a foundation, you know, something that's gonna impact our pipe, then it's gonna be an issue, absolutely. But for the most part, you're gonna use it like you do today. It's not gonna change. For most.
And when you dig a hole, like put in a flagpole, you call Julie. Julie comes out, they locate all the utilities, and you don't put the flagpole on top of any of the utilities. I mean, that's a common practice.
Well, that's where we want to put it.
Right on the
Because it's our land. You're not buying it, it's our land.
On your line from Manteno to Grand Park,
Did you put that on the public right away, or did you buy easements there?
We bought easements.
You did. Okay, I thought that was on the public right away.
I think it's a similar situation where the property owner owns out to the center of the roadway there. So even if we're in the roadway there, we have to buy an easement.
Since you couldn't give an answer to what you paid.
But you were in the original
people
ditch
in
line there with the
area
pipe, aren't you?
For their pipeline going through their property. What about the one on
Well,
45?
you're saying you're gonna be
you just
5
said
foot
you're
deep
building?
with some hindrance coming down both sides of the road to the public right of way.
I don't have the square footage. I bet you half of those people gave it to us. I know.
Gave
for-
it to you.
Oh.
Are you crazy?
I know for a fact. 'Cause a couple of my knew the people, they said, it's a little different down there. They're growing, they're developing, they want commercial. A lot of those people on there have it for investment purposes. It's different down there than it is here. So, I know a couple of them that, hey, come over, I'll sign it right now, because it valued their property. So they could sell commercially in the future. They're doing a little growth. It's different growth out there. Two totally different markets. You know, here it's way different. I don't anticipate you guys seeing growth for a long time, and especially up and down this whole.
Everything is to our expense, too. All the growth is to our expense. The water main we want to put to university, to the poor people of 2,300 of them. And then also the airport is to our expense. Now, see, I think why people are really upset about this figure we put in here. I don't care if it's a ratio or how it's computed, is it leasing or buying your rights. It's such a low figure that it's thrown at you like people think we're idiots. Now, you're not incorporating in this whole picture, as we explained to Brian, that the inconvenience and disrupting your lives, and then the whole picture, and then they show you this figure, and they're buying it. And that's, you know what I mean?
You know, I guess.
It's a sad situation.
I guess I mean, I came in a little late, I apologize for that, but when the pipelines come through, they're asking for a 30-foot easement as well, okay, and they pay quite a bit more for that line, regardless of whether it's oil or water. It's still disrupting your land. If you're a farmer, there's impact for planting and everything like that on it. So what is the impact that's going to be to the property when you come through? How much do you tear up? What does that look like? And I guess too, why don't you guys pay the same as like the pipelines pay? You want to use this land forever at $416. It seems unbelievable to me, because if they were going to sell it, if they were going to sell that piece of property, they'd sell it for a heck of a lot more than $419, whatever low amount. That is completely ridiculous. I can't even believe it came out of their mouths. I can't even believe it. So why do you not pay it that?
Pipelines and oil pipelines, gas pipelines, whole different. I know you're just thinking, okay, it's a pipe in the ground, regardless, right? It should be the same. Every day a pipeline, a gas pipeline, oil pipeline is out of service, it's costing them a lot of money. They way overpay market value, which is a benefit to the property owners wherever they go to. But the value they pay is a multiplier of what the actual market rate would be. But it is what it is, right? They did it, and we don't operate that way. Every day this is out of we're not losing thousands and thousands of dollars, so us not necessarily willing to pay this huge multiple of a value. It's not worth it to us. Okay?
So in other words, whatever you're going to offer is what's worth to you, not to us.
No. We want what offered. It should be market rate, and absolutely, everybody should be made whole.
Well, that thing just shows you what the market rate is. But yet they come out with $415 for us.
Well, that market rate if we bought the property outright.
So in other words, you want to lease it. That's what you want to do, is permanently lease it.
Forever.
Forever. Right?
That's correct.
If we're going to lease it, we're leasing the top of it too, right?
Yeah.
We just want underneath that 5 foot, that put our pipe in 5 feet underneath that easement, right? So that you have full use of it. Once it's in there and it's all the ground gets put back and the crops get put up or whatever, you don't even know it's there. You can build on it, but
If you lease the property, you're responsible for the whole piece. Just like if you're leasing a room in a house or a house. Go ahead.
Can we let some other people ask some questions, because you guys are kind of monopolizing the meeting?
I got archways on my driveway.
I'm concerned about the natural water flow that goes through my yard.
Okay.
Okay? You're going to come in and you're going to disrupt all that natural water flow. I don't need that being backed up into my house. How am I going to know that you're going to be able to maintain the fact that that natural water flow will stay the way it is and not go?
Okay, we do a topographical survey when we do the design of the project, and so we have to take that into account, and the contractor is going to be required to replace it as it was existing. Now he'll be
able to go at the same grade and everything and get it back to the same grade?
He'll be required to put it back to the same grade as it was pre-existing.
What about power lines?
Well, they'll have to get power lines located and all those types of things. They'll have to repair any power. But ideally, the contractor is required to call a Julie, locate the power lines first, and hopefully, as he's digging, carefully avoid them so they're not even damaged. I mean, that's the goal. That's part of the Julie.
The one that runs to my house runs 6 inches under my driveway because we had Julie out and had him check it, and it leaks. Electric leakage. Because I can stick a probe in the ground and walk over 2 feet away and I can read 125 volts right there. And that isn't even touching the wire. And ComEd's been putting me off for 25 years to come out and fix it.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, the utility companies can locate their stuff. When I meet with property owners, I'm going to be asking for information on field tiles and seepage fields, because those are the things that can't be located, so we can anticipate where those might be. Because there's opportunities for us to go under those and minimize damage, prevent damage to those too. So that's why that's one of the things one of the goals of the initial introductory meetings too is to get any information like that from the property owner.
So you're going to drill a new water well at my house?
No water wells.
Why not? I'm 20 feet away from the property line.
Well, we have to. That's one of the things that I want to know. So
that's where my well is.
Okay, well, we'll have to take that into account with the design.
Oh, that's interesting.
What was the timeline?
Not supply water. So
Oh, they can supply you water free.
right?
Sounds like a better
What,
plan to me.
ideally, what we'd like to do is try and work with everybody, try and, negotiate easement, find out what the issues are with the property there, look at doing the design. Ideally, we look to construct a pipeline at the very earliest in 2016, and more than likely 2017. Again, this is just proposed. Right now, we don't have any absolute hard and fast timelines, but we do want to try and get out and communicate with folks and try and find out what the issues are so that we can have that negotiation process, know everything that we need to know so we can go and do a thoughtful design.
I propose you look for another well.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem fair that you are going to provide a water line to people in University Park and Green Garden Township and the Industrial Park, and my residents, I'm the Will County Board Representative, should be impacted for this for $419. I don't even know how you guys come up with that value, why anybody thinks it's fair. I can't even believe it. It doesn't make sense to me.
That was the evaluation that came out of that market study, and again, we aren't looking at doing that outright purchase of that property that we're looking at. As Jim said, all we're looking at doing is trying to have the right to put that water main underneath the ground there, running through that property.
Right.
And then the property owner has full rights to use that property from that point on, as long as they're not damaging that water main.
Yeah, but they don't have, because you got the easement. So basically, they have a pipe now, so their rights are limited now. They don't have a full right no more. You got a pipe there for these people here.
And you've done this
It's not like there's no pipe there.
before now. Once you start digging, are you talking about a year that we're going to be disrupted?
We estimate that the total project with construction would be a year.
A year.
I've answered some questions to the individual property. On a 10-acre parcel where your frontage is only 300 or 400 feet, typically the contractor will be through that in like a 2-day period. He will backfill immediately, typically mounds a little soil over the top of the trench, allows them to settle for a certain number of days before they do the final grading and seeding. Obviously driveways are put back into service immediately with trench backfill and gravel. Okay, so it's not like your property is going to be disrupted for a 1-year period. Okay, that's the time frame for the whole project. But personally, it'll be much less than that for individual property owners.
Question about crops. What are you going to be going through the land? Seeing I'm a farmer like some of these others could be. You're going to go through when my crop is planted. What's going to happen then?
Right. Farmers get paid crop damages for damaged crops, according to what they sell their crops for in that calendar year.
And who determines that?
The farmer gives Aqua their yield prices and their
You
yields.
mean by $300, 300 bushel corn at $8 an acre?
Yeah.
Where's he at? That amount to quite a bit of money.
Yeah, and that's what they've agreed to pay, whatever the farmer's yields are, times the price that he gets, and all the farmers have to do is give that documentation to Aqua.
Did you ever consider it moving the portfolio east and coming up the public right-of-way in the township roads?
Yeah, we looked at a lot of different options. I mean, without going through all the details of the study, I mean, this is the most cost-effective option. Okay, I mean,
How could it be
It's the
more
cheapest one for
cost-effective to
you.
have to buy right-of-way from the property owner than you could already use the existing public right-of-way?
well, there's
1 mile away.
Yeah.
the public right-of-way is for roadway purposes. Generally, all public right-of-ways are for roadway purposes. The road gets precedence over any of the utilities in that right-of-way. If they want to widen the road or do anything like that, the utilities have to relocate their facilities at the utility's expense, generally. And so, as a practice, I think Aqua doesn't like to do that because they want to know that their water main, isn't going to have to be relocated at this point.
To rural townships, it wouldn't hurt a darn thing coming up out of Southern Township into our township. You wouldn't hit anything improved until you get into Mooney Township. It'll be secondary road right away. And I'd be willing to cooperate with you.
I talked to him on the design stuff, actually meeting as well.
Where is Diversitech on it? Is that in the blue portion there?
The Diversitech is back over here.
Okay, and how are you getting from there to the blue part?
We've got a pipeline that runs out to feed Grant Park.
Right,
now
this blue line right here.
Put it on the 9,000.
Have you negotiated with any of the property owners on the Kankakee side of the boundary?
No, the process, like I said earlier, is to get all the letters out, have all the initial introductory meetings, both Will County and Kankakee County, before we start any negotiations. We want people the time to digest it, and then we'll come back and schedule follow-up meetings for negotiations.
So have you done a property study down there and land values already?
Yes.
What's the land value down there?
I don't remember.
I think it's comparable. The Kankakee, that portion of Kankakee was comparable to the Will Township area.
I guess when we're talking property values, and I don't really understand it, so I just think my residents of Will Township really get screwed all the time, because there's nowhere else on earth that we can build a toll road, there's nowhere else on earth that we can build an airport, there's nowhere else on earth that we can put a pipeline through, and now there's nowhere else on earth that we can bring a water line through our properties, which you say are basically worth $419. I mean, really, if this is the best route, you should be paying top dollar, compensating people to the top expense for that, since they're not going to benefit from this line at all.
Right.
At all.
Ask yourself, would you take that?
Yeah, good question. No.
Inconvenience, yeah.
Honestly, it's your house. They're going to tear up your yard for 4 months probably. By the time you get even your grass to grow.
I have before. I've given up easement for water company to replace hydrants and put it in a different location.
But the hydrants was benefiting you. This isn't benefiting any of us.
Well, there was also pre-existing.
$419, if that's a benefit, I'll be damned.
And if you do it in the right time, you're going to put little tiny shrubs in, and I'm going to have 6 feet of snow on my front door, and I won't be able to get out.
And those are the issues that we want to talk and find out when we do the negotiations.
I mean, it's not like being in town where you got all this buildings in your way and stuff. I mean, you got open fields.
Everybody understands that this is just an initial offer, right? Everybody has a right to negotiate in accordance with their concerns. Everybody understands that, right?
Okay, if we go into negotiations and we don't come to an agreement, are you going to file with the ICC for eminent domain?
I think Jim addressed that.
We don't want to.
What's going to happen when the Juliana
Low for you.
Expressway goes through there?
You don't have to negotiate with
Well, they haven't actually acquired any right away.
Yeah, that's going to be November, December now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been in contact with their property acquisition, and they haven't really, they've got preliminary plans, but they haven't done anything.
You're going to be here first, and then they're going to have to go over.
You'll be on the water, you'll be able to fly.
All right, now, when you get up to Manteno, how are you going to get to the other side of the railroad track?
That's part of what we're working on right now.
Why don't you just come down 45 all the way to come in from the other way, and yourself
Fight that, what's the lawyer cost per hour?
Are there any more questions for Brian or for Cameron? I think we're getting off on tangents. We're having little discussions here and there. I think this is well addressed. Thank you, everybody, for addressing your concerns. I think they're on a recon mission. Those of you in the military know what a recon mission is. You test the water. You look and see if it's going to be feasible or not. It appears to me that that's what Brian's trying to accomplish, and they're coming to you for your feedback. Where are your septic systems?